Have you ever wondered why some people seem to enjoy discipline while you keep dragging yourself through it like it's a daily war? Not because they were born different, but because their brain learned to crave the kind of reward yours has been trained to avoid. That's the part nobody tells you. The real battle isn't between you and procrastination. It's between your biology and the modern world hijacking your desire system without you even noticing. Think about it. How many times did you sit down to work, read, or focus, only to feel your brain begging for the quick hit, the scroll, the snack, the shortcut? And how many nights do you promise yourself tomorrow will be different, only to repeat the same cycle? You're not broken. Your dopamine system is just wired to chase instant pleasure instead of meaningful progress. And until you understand why, discipline will always feel harder than it should. But here's the twist, and the reason you need to stay with me. The same chemistry that pulls you into distraction can be rewired to pull you into discipline. Yes, your brain can be trained to enjoy doing hard things, to feel rewarded by progress, to crave the life you keep saying you want. And once that switch flips, productivity stops being a fight and becomes a feeling, a new default. The real question is, what's stopping your brain from entering that state right now? Your brain works like a quiet accountant you never hired. Every second, it's running the same calculation. What's the lowest effort I can spend to get the highest reward? And honestly, that's not laziness, that's biology. Your mind evolved to conserve energy because wasting it used to be dangerous. So when you struggle with discipline or self-development, it's not because you're weak. It's because you're fighting an operating system built for survival, not productivity. But here's where things get messy. The modern world hijacked this ancient blueprint. Apps, notifications, endless feeds, ultra-processed food, everything is engineered to deliver instant reward with zero effort. Your brain sees all that and thinks, perfect, high dopamine, low cost, let's do more of that. Meanwhile, the tasks that actually improve your mindset and personal growth, reading, deep work, facing discomfort, start to feel expensive. Not emotionally, biologically, and that's why mental focus feels harder than ever. One of the biggest life lessons people miss is that your brain isn't your enemy. It's trying to protect you based on outdated rules. Back in the day, climbing a tree for fruit made sense. Today, opening Instagram delivers a bigger dopamine spike than finishing a chapter of a great book. But only one of those activities teaches you how to live better. Your brain still reacts as if effort is dangerous, even when effort is exactly what leads to personal freedom, confidence, and better time management. But here's the twist. If your brain is constantly calculating cost versus reward, then you can change the math. You can retrain what it considers worth it. And the moment you understand the chemistry behind desire, the real engine behind motivation, everything about discipline starts to make sense. Because the next step isn't about forcing yourself. It's about learning the neurobiology that's been steering your decisions this whole time. If the brain is the accountant, dopamine is the currency. And this is where most people get it wrong. Dopamine isn't the chemical of pleasure. It's the chemical of anticipation. It fires in the nucleus accumbens, the brain's motivation engine, every time you expect a reward. That's why scrolling feels effortless. Your mind keeps chasing the possibility of the next hit. Meanwhile, real productivity tasks don't trigger the same anticipation at first, so they feel boring, even when they're good for your self-development. Think of dopamine like a spotlight. Whatever it shines on becomes easier to want. If your spotlight stays on quick entertainment, that becomes your default mindset. If it shines on long-term personal growth, that becomes your new baseline. But here's the catch. Overstimulation from modern digital life causes downregulation. Your receptors stop responding with the same intensity. Suddenly, the things that used to excite you, reading, studying, building discipline, working on your mental focus, barely register. It's not you. It's your chemistry. And that downregulation creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more easy dopamine you consume, the harder it becomes to feel motivated by anything else. Tasks that used to feel meaningful start looking too slow. Your ability to manage time fades, your curiosity dulls, Even your drive for personal growth gets buried under the need for quick hits. This is how countless people lose direction without ever realizing the biology behind their lack of motivation. But here's where everything begins to shift. If dopamine controls desire, then changing your relationship with dopamine changes your life. And that shift doesn't require magic or motivation. It requires understanding the next piece of the puzzle: how to lower the stimulation enough for your brain to reset. This is the moment where people finally learn how to live better, not through willpower, but through design. And that's exactly where we're headed next. A dopamine detox isn't about eliminating dopamine. That would be impossible and honestly dangerous. It's about removing the artificial peaks that overload your reward system. Think of it as turning down a dimmer switch so your brain can see light again. When you cut the hyperstimulating stuff, constant scrolling, junk food, endless noise, your receptors finally get a chance to reset. That reset is what allows discipline, productivity, and real self-development to feel possible again. Most people don't realize how overstimulation distorts their internal compass. When everything gives you instant pleasure, real satisfaction loses its flavor. Pleasure is cheap. It hits fast, fades fast, and demands nothing. Satisfaction is different. It arrives slowly, lasts longer, and reinforces your mindset, personal growth, and mental focus. But it requires effort, and effort only feels rewarding when dopamine sensitivity is restored. That's why the detox matters. It levels the playing field. Here's the powerful shift. Pleasure is passive, but satisfaction is earned. Satisfaction expands. Pleasure kills discipline. Satisfaction strengthens it. Pleasure drains time management. Satisfaction organizes it. And because modern life hands out pleasure at every corner, most people never experience the deeper fulfillment that comes from finishing a difficult workout, completing a project, or pushing through resistance. They've forgotten what real reward feels like. But once the detox begins working, once upregulation kicks in and your receptors wake up, something incredible happens. You start feeling excitement toward the very tasks you used to avoid. Your brain begins craving progress instead of distraction. And that's the doorway to a whole new version of you. A version capable of enjoying discipline, not enduring it. But to reach that point, you need to know how to detox correctly, which is where we're heading next. A real dopamine detox doesn't start with discipline. It starts with honesty. You have to identify your biggest sources of easy dopamine, the ones quietly draining your productivity and dismantling your mindset. For some people, it's social media. For others, it's gaming, junk food, binge watching, or even hopping between tasks to avoid discomfort. The rule is simple. If it gives fast pleasure and no long-term reward, it's a candidate for the detox. Awareness is the first form of self-development. Once you know your triggers, the next step is temporary elimination. Not forever, just long enough for your brain to recalibrate. Most people feel the reset starting at 3 to 7 days, but deeper personal growth comes around day 14. During this window, your reward system quiets down, your mental focus becomes clearer, and your time management naturally improves because you're not competing against a dozen micro distractions. It's like finally hearing your own thoughts again. But removing stimulation isn't enough. You have to replace it with slow reward activities, the ones that rebuild your baseline. Read a physical book, cook your own meals, take a walk without headphones, journal by hand, have real conversations. These activities seem too simple, but they retrain your dopamine system to respond to patience, effort, and depth. They rebuild your discipline muscle from the inside out. And yes, they feel uncomfortable at first. That discomfort is proof the detox is working, because right after the discomfort comes the breakthrough. You'll notice irritation, restlessness, even boredom, all signs that your brain is reorganizing itself. Most people quit here, not realizing they're inches away from transformation. But those who stay, who breathe through the withdrawal and stay quiet internally, begin to feel excitement toward challenge again. And that shift opens the door to something far more powerful than detox alone, the inner reward system that discipline activates next. Every time you choose delayed gratification over instant pleasure, you're not just being disciplined, you're changing your brain's architecture. That choice activates the prefrontal cortex, the part of your mind responsible for planning, self-control, long-term thinking, and real self-development. It's the same region that separates impulse from intention, distraction from direction. Strengthening it is one of the greatest gifts you can give your future self because it sharpens your mindset and expands your capacity for personal growth. Meanwhile, every time you choose quick gratification, you strengthen the limbic system, the primitive part of the brain that loves shortcuts, comfort, and zero responsibility. That system isn't bad, it's just outdated. It was built for survival, not for modern productivity or mental focus. The more you feed it, the more it takes over your time management. The less you feed it, the more the prefrontal cortex wakes up. Discipline isn't a moral badge, it's neural training. What most people don't realize is that discipline comes with its own chemical reward. Effort triggers a potent blend of dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, a cocktail far more satisfying than the cheap spike you get from scrolling or snacking. This is why pushing through a workout, finishing a difficult project, or learning something complex feels deeply fulfilling. It's not just pride, it's biology. It's your brain saying, "More of this, please." And when repeated, this becomes the foundation of how to live better. Over time, something remarkable happens. Your brain starts preferring discipline. The work becomes a source of energy rather than resistance. Challenges feel intriguing instead of intimidating. Delayed gratification becomes natural, even enjoyable. And that's the moment your entire life begins to shift. But for this shift to last, for discipline to become your default setting, you need to understand how to maintain that internal structure once the detox is over. Most people reach this stage and feel the breakthrough, but they don't know how to sustain it. That's where everything collapses. Discipline starts working, but their internal system, their routines, their weekly structure, their mental organization, simply isn't designed to hold the new version of themselves. And that's when they realize the truth. Sometimes you don't need more effort, you need a complete reset. A framework that clears overload, rebuilds clarity, and gives your mind a fresh starting point. Because without that reset, the old patterns eventually pull them back. When the detox finally settles in, the first thing you'll notice is focus. Real, uninterrupted mental focus that doesn't feel forced. Tasks that once felt heavy now feel manageable. Your mind stops jumping between micro pleasures and begins committing to deeper work. Productivity becomes quieter, cleaner, more intentional. It's the kind of shift people chase for years without realizing it was their dopamine baseline holding them back, not their willpower. The next change is clarity. Decision-making becomes faster because your brain isn't juggling 50 internal impulses at once. You stop negotiating with yourself about every little thing. Your mindset becomes sharper, less reactive, more strategic. You naturally choose what supports your personal growth instead of what numbs you. Life lessons that used to sound like cliches suddenly become obvious. Consistency compounds, small wins matter, effort creates meaning. You don't just know them, you feel them. Then comes energy, not the jittery, caffeine-driven kind, but a steady internal drive. Without dopamine spikes and crashes, your time management stabilizes. You wake up clearer. Your evenings feel lighter. Your attention lasts longer. This is the moment when you start experiencing how to live better in a way that's embodied, not theoretical. You realize you're no longer chasing motivation because your brain stopped burning itself out on quick rewards. And eventually, the most surprising shift appears: excitement toward difficult tasks. Your brain begins anticipating the satisfaction that comes after effort, not the relief after escaping it. You start wanting the challenge, craving the progress, enjoying the discipline. And when you reach that stage, everything in your life becomes easier: goals, habits, routines, relationships. But this transformation only lasts if your environment supports the new you, which is exactly what the next topic unlocks. If you want your brain to keep enjoying discipline, systems must do the heavy lifting. Willpower alone won't save you. Your environment has to make the right choice the easy choice. Delete the apps that steal your mental focus. Keep your phone in another room during deep work. Use blockers, timers, silent mornings. Prep your meals ahead of time so you don't rely on impulsive decisions. These aren't restrictions, they're upgrades to your time management and self-development. But systems extend beyond objects. They also include people. You rise or fall to the level of the minds around you. When you surround yourself with friends who chase comfort, you'll drift toward comfort too. When you surround yourself with people who value discipline, deep work, and personal growth, your mindset sharpens naturally. Habits are contagious, and so is ambition. One of the greatest life lessons you'll ever learn is that proximity shapes destiny more than motivation ever will. And this is where your perspective must shift. Discipline isn't punishment, it's freedom. The world teaches you that ease equals happiness, but that's a trap. People who chase endless pleasure feel empty because pleasure doesn't build anything. Satisfaction does. Confidence does. Progress does. A brain trained for instant reward is a slave to distraction. A brain trained for delayed gratification is free. Free to choose, free to create, free to live better on purpose. And here's the quiet truth. The moment you enjoy discipline, life stops feeling like resistance and starts feeling like alignment. You're no longer fighting yourself, you're guiding yourself. But this alignment only deepens when you understand the internal mechanism that makes discipline energizing instead of exhausting. And now that you've seen how to rewire your reward system, it's time to open the story in a way that pulls the viewer in from the very first second. Now it's your turn. Don't let this stay as theory. Identify one source of empty dopamine that's been stealing your mental focus and cut it out today, not someday, today. Then commit to a 7-day detox and watch how your mindset, discipline, and productivity begin to shift in ways motivation alone could never create. Remember, temporary discomfort is the price of permanent personal growth. And the moment you choose delayed reward, your brain starts choosing you back. So ask yourself, what's the one distraction that keeps blocking the life you say you want? What would your time management look like if your brain actually enjoyed discipline? And what could change in the next 30 days if you finally took control of your reward system instead of letting it control you? Drop your answer in the comments. Your next breakthrough starts the moment you say it out loud. And if you're serious about learning how to live better, don't stop here. Because rewiring your dopamine is step one, but mastering extreme productivity without depending on motivation is step two. That's why the next video on your screen is how to trick your brain into extreme productivity. No motivation needed. If this video showed you why discipline can feel good, that one will show you exactly how to use your brain's biology to perform at your highest level every single day. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress.